Now, ladies and gentlemen, before I invite our chief guest, Mr. Amitabh Kant, I take it to be my honest duty to introduce him to all of us. Mr. Amitabh Kant is presently CEO of National Institution for Transforming India, that is NITI Aayog. He's a member of the Indian Administrative Service, IAS, Kerala cadre of 1980 batch. He's the author of Branding India, An Incredible Story. Mr. Kant has been a key driver of the Make in India, Startup India, Incredible India, and God's Own Country initiatives. These campaigns have won several international awards and embraced a host of activities. Mr. Kant also conceptualized the Atithi Deva Bhava, Guest is God, campaign to train taxi drivers, guides, immigration officials, and make them stakeholders in the tourism development process. Mr. Amitabh Kant was also the National Project Director of the Rural Tourism Project of UNDP. In his capacity as Secretary Industries, Government of India, Mr. Kant drove the Ease of Doing Business initiative and ranking of states on outcome parameters. He's the chairman of the committee to implement digital payment in India. Mr. Kant has been the recipient of Economic Times Policy Change Agent of the Year Award, the Bloomberg TV Personality of the Year Award, the NDTV Administrator of the Year Award, and the Distinguished Fellowship of the Institute of Directors. He is the recipient of One Globe Award 2016 for leadership in transforming governance for the 21st century. He is a member of the steering board of Shaping the Future of Production Systems of World Economic Forum. He's also the recipient of Sir Edmund Hillary Fellowship Award by the Prime Minister of New Zealand. He's also the recipient of the Golden Peacock Award for Leadership in Economic Transformation 2017. Mr. Amitabh Kant has worked as CMD, ITDC. Mr. Amitabh Kant did his schooling from Modern School, Delhi, graduation in Economics Honors from St. Stephen's Delhi University, and MA from Jawaharlal Nehru University. May I now humbly request you, Mr. Kant, to address all of us. Thank you.
Distinguished Chairman, Mr. Sunil Kant Munjal, Headmaster, Dr. Jagpreet Singh, the Board of Governors, staff, the boys and girls of the Doon School. I'm extremely delighted to be delivering the 85th Founders Day address of one of the finest educational institutions in the world, the Doon School. Doon School is unique because of its tremendous history, its vast influence in shaping India's discourse, its phenomenal range of extracurricular pursuits, and the immense imprint left behind by its storied alumni base. The school over the last 85 years has carved a prestigious niche for itself, not merely in the annals of the educational world, but a large range of disciplines, from trekking and mountaineering to sports to producing some of the greatest authors of our generation. Ladies and gentlemen, we are in the midst of an unprecedented crisis. None of us had ever envisaged that we will witness a pandemic in our lifetime. Our lives have been changed radically and irreversibly by COVID-19. I had never imagined that I will be addressing the 85th Founders Day of Doon School virtually from my office. But this, boys and girls, is the reality we are all living in today. And this is the reality which we must embrace and make the most out of. Convert adversity into opportunity. I've had a career spanning over 40 years in government. I have worked in the state of Kerala and Government of India. I have worked in both North and South Bloc, which between them in cricket parlance have been said to block everything in government. I have never seen technologies which are blurring the boundaries between our physical, digital, and biological worlds as they are doing now. Innovation in areas of big data, machine learning, artificial intelligence, 3D printing, and blockchain are reshaping the world around us. Today, we are also in the midst of a technology revolution that will fundamentally and radically alter the way we live and work. You are all graduating from this prestigious school during a period of unprecedented innovation and disruption. There is a crisis. But every crisis, grave as it may be, presents an immense opportunity. And we should never let a crisis go waste. Therefore, I thought I must relate this to my own experiences in life and how I have faced and dealt with crisis. When I was graduating from school, there were incredibly few viable options. When I was graduating from college, there were incredibly few viable options. You either joined the government as a civil servant or became an executive in the private sector. I was quite an average student academically. But in my school, we had a brilliant principal who emphasized the huge significance and importance of excelling in at least one sport and one extracurricular. This in many ways shaped me and my worldview. From being a hardcore Delhiwala, I ended up being in the backwaters of Kerala as a civil servant. When I landed up in Kerala, I realized that it was surcharged with trade unions. Manufacturing had severely failed in the state. There was a communist regime. And at one stage of my career, I ran into a severe problem with the political leadership. I was in fact left without a posting for a very long period. Then in what among bureaucratic circles is referred to as a punishment posting, I was posted as Secretary Tourism. No one had ever envisioned or thought of Kerala as a tourism destination. People used to travel either to Kashmir or Rajasthan, and no civil servant wanted to be posted as Secretary Tourism. It was termed as for a lack of a better word, a lousy posting. I instead used this opportunity to build Kerala as a high-value, upmarket destination, differentiated it from the rest of the world by creating new products which were unique to Kerala. Backwaters, which comprise of interconnected waterways, rivers, lakes, and inlets. And in the midst of the backwaters, the beautiful landscape, there are lovely cruises, the Ketuvellams, the Kerala houseboats, which are held together by ropes and on which not a single nail is used. The traditional art and cultural forms of Kerala, Kathakali, Mohiniyattam, and Thayyam, the tree houses and Ayurveda for rejuvenation, and the Kerala cuisine were all brought alive in a contemporary manner and presented to the world. We went back to Kerala's roots, back to its traditions, critically maintaining the distinct features while never aping the West. We created a unique product based on Kerala's unique traditional products and positioned and branded it as God's own country. Kerala became a coveted tourism destination for the alert independent traveler, with the National Geographic terming it as one of the 10 exotic paradises of the world. Boys and girls, after my tenure in Kerala, I was posted as Joint Secretary, Ministry of Tourism, in Government of India. As soon as I took charge, as the luck would have it, the Twin Tower attacks happened in New York, there was war in Afghanistan, and there was attack on a Parliament House. There were major travel advisories against travel to India. Our hotels were managing with a mere 5 to 10% net occupancy, and our tourism had totally collapsed. It was also the time when Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore had all halted their international marketing as there was no consumer demand in the global market. At the peak of this crisis, we launched the Incredible India campaign. It was a 360-degree campaign across television, digital, and print. We cut through tour operators and travel agents and went straight to the consumers, the travelers of the world. We brought the wonders of India into the living rooms of potential tourists from across the world. The campaign brought back tourists, and tourism rapidly grew and expanded. The enhanced demand led to new airlines, the opening up of our new airports, and development at Bangalore, Hyderabad, Delhi, Mumbai as new destinations, completely new airports. A marketing-led initiative at the peak of a crisis had led to the massive potential of travel and tourism being tapped as a driver of growth and employment creation. This is why my view is that you should never be demotivated by a crisis. You should take it head on and leverage the opportunity that it presents to disrupt the status quo. You should think big. The challenges that I faced early on in my career have made me a better administrator. They have prepared me for bigger challenges. And all of you are uniquely positioned in that you are witnessing a crisis situation at such a young age. What could be worse and more challenging than a global pandemic? But on the other side of this, you will emerge prepared to take on many challenges in the future now, and will compete with confidence, will, determination, and grit. Boys and girls, earlier in my career, I'd also worked in the traditional fisheries sector of Kerala. My task was to improve lives and livelihoods of traditional fishermen who were getting a mere 15% of the marketed price of their fish. There were layers and layers of middlemen, almost 18 to 20 middlemen by the time the fish reached the ultimate consumer. We formed self-help groups, gave them new technology, fiberglass crafts, outboard motors, new fishing nets. It enabled them to go much further into the sea and get a higher catch of fish. However, opening their bank account was a completely different matter. It was a complete nightmare. It used to take us 7 to 8 months of running around bank managers to get their know your customer or KYCs done and open their bank account. Opening bank accounts for poor people was the toughest job that I've done in my life. Look at the paradigm shift now. Today, you can walk into any bank branch or remain in your house, use your biometric, and open your bank account in less than a minute. From 7 to 8 months to less than a minute has been the transformation in the last 2 decades. Friends, look at the disruption that has taken place. We are the only country in the world with over 1 billion plus biometrics, 1 billion plus mobiles, and almost 1 billion bank accounts. What we term as the JAM Trinity, the Jan Dhan Aadhaar Mobile Trinity. We have over 650 million internet users, and we add an internet user every 3 seconds. We are the largest consumer of data in the world, and our data costs are the lowest. Almost 1/20th the cost of data compared to USA, and 1/10 the cost of data in United Kingdom. Our App downloads are more than the app downloads of USA and China put together. Boys and girls, there must have been times in your life when you may have thought of an idea, a unique initiative. You may have let that go thinking that it would be too tough to make it possible. But let me give you an example. Today you can take out your mobile phones and do a UPI transaction in an instant. Do you know how old UPI is? Just 4 years old. American Express is decades old. Today, UPI does 18 billion transactions, twice the number of transactions on American Express. And in the next 3 to 4 years, it will surpass both Visa and MasterCard. Who would have thought this could ever be possible? The lesson is to keep thinking big and work to make it possible. Nothing is impossible to achieve. Look at our digitization efforts. Aadhaar, that is your biometric, which is totally digital. The Unified Payment Interface, UPI, which enabled 22 cashless transactions per person in 2019. The Goods and Services Tax, which is cashless and digital, replacing a vast array of taxes and cesses. And the Prime Minister Jan Arogya Yojana, the Ayushman Bharat health insurance scheme, which provides health insurance to over 500 million Indians. And 500 million Indian means more than the population of USA and Europe put together. Totally cashless, paperless, and digital. You can be living in Bihar, going to Tamil Nadu or Kerala, you will carry your health insurance with you. Take direct benefit transfer, DBT, what we say in government. When I was a young officer, subsidies were full of leakages. Money used to be transferred to beneficiaries from Government of India, to states, to districts, to panchayats, to villages, and there used to be a vast amount of leakages. Now we undertake a cumulative direct benefit transfer of 11.1 lakh crores and 426 operational schemes across a range of ministries. There is not a single paisa lost through leakage. And therefore, technology and digital technology has made India a far more efficient economy. This vast scale of data and the massive digital footprint is India's biggest strength for the technological leapfrogging in machine learning and artificial intelligence development. As India moves from being data rich, and let me assure you that we are the data richest country in the world, from being data rich to data intelligent, it will use machine learning and AI to find solutions to a vast number of our challenges. Water availability, learning outcomes, health improvement, and enhanced agriculture productivity. Boys and girls, Silicon Valley may be the most innovative place in the world, but it has no challenges. It has no problems. It therefore innovates for driverless cars. India, to my mind, does not need driverless cars. If India is able to find solutions and innovate for its challenges of water, health, education, and agriculture, we will be finding solutions not for the 1.3 billion people of India, but for the next 5 billion people of the world who will be moving from poverty to middle class in the coming decade. Boys and girls, as I said, when I was growing, there were only two options: joining the government or becoming an executive in the emerging private sector. Today, most young people are becoming entrepreneurs and disrupting the status quo. We have been able to create the second best startup ecosystem in the world in a remarkably short while. We have over 50,000 tech startups with over 28 domestic unicorns. There's a changed perception about entrepreneurship, and there's a large amount of domestic and foreign capital flowing into India. Look at how technology-led startups are disrupting industries after industries across India. Look at a startup like PhonePe. It is a digital payment app based on unified payment interface. It's available in 11 regional languages with over 10 million merchants. And if you look back at how it all started for Sameer Nigam, who started it, and his marvelous engineering team at PhonePe, you'll find an unlikely story of how an unusual digital payment company housed at an e-commerce company managed to make dent in the fintech payment ecosystem in India. With a deep product thinking mindset, Sameer Nigam chased impact in the true sense of the word. From a simple thought of using technology and data, he has managed to transform economy, and at the same time, there's been nothing bigger than financial services, easy loans, insurance, and digital payments. I was quite delighted to learn that at Doon School, you have a regular course on robotics. And a few of you passionate about drones may have heard about Asteria Aerospace. The company was started by Nihar Vartak and Neil Mehta, who were pursuing their BS degree in aerospace engineering at Purdue University. Today, Asteria Aerospace uses robotics and AI to develop drone-based solutions to military and police forces in India. It also provides drone-based solutions for survey, inspection, monitoring assets, both hardware and software component of drone manufacturing in India. Truly incredible work by young entrepreneurs. Startups and enterprises are disrupting the agricultural landscape with new business models and solutions. Look at another startup like Cropin, which enables data-driven farming, which helps derive real-time insights, real-time, based on weather and soil conditions on standing crop across geographies, and therefore on local weather information, soil, it gives high-resolution satellite imagery. You know, many of you know how personal experiences play a huge role in shaping individuals and their ideas. After witnessing farmer distress in rural Karnataka, Krishna Kumar, the founder of Cropin, left his job at General Electric to develop an intervention which could improve the lives of farmers, and started providing its agri-technology innovations directly to farmers with a motive to help them increase agriculture produce and gain profitable income. So boys and girls, we need many more such solutions that could help our farmers increase their productivity and enable them to use technology. I recently met another team of young entrepreneurs, Varun Khaitan, Abhiraj Behal, and Raghav Chandra, who run Urban Company, earlier known as Urban Clap. In just 5 years, they have become the go-to platform for urban Indians looking for anything from carpenters, plumbers, painters to pedicures. They have created a vast number of jobs for skilled workers across cities in India. They connect service providers to consumers on a digital platform. And the startup came from a very simple idea. They realized that there was a gap between the way people found services and in the way people connected with the service providers. And therefore, they have transformed the business of providing services in urban areas. Their Urban Clap as a company was formed by realizing this need and by essentially turning the Yellow Pages format into an online platform. And you see, there are these little simple problems around us that we get accustomed to. We become an agent of status quo. Our education system quite often teaches us to get used to things on how they are meant to be. But Doon School is very different. And I'm sure that many of you will get inspired and will find solutions and change the status quo as far as India is concerned. In addition to our own startups, look at the world around us. And important to assess what's happening in the world. Look at Amazon. It started as an online bookstore. Today it is a tech giant that also sells book. And Jeff Bezos actually left his high-paying job in Wall Street. He risked that, and he moved on and started an online bookstore run out of his garage. His company today is the #1 company in the world, the richest company in the world. His extraordinary story demonstrates how taking a leap of faith can lead to staggering successes. Look at another entrepreneur, Elon Musk, a serial entrepreneur who's in the business of cars, solar, space technology, and all of them together. He positioned himself in the midst of colossal industries which have had the biggest impact in the modern era, energy and technology. He's at the intersection point of both. His gigafactories will be his oil fields of the future, even as technology powers his other businesses. His one car company, the Tesla today, is richer than General Motors, Ford, and has greater value than all American car companies put together. But let me tell you that he was a failure in many ways. In fact, one significant failure, one that eventually led him to found Tesla and SpaceX, was when he was ousted from his position as the CEO of PayPal. And these are just illustrative examples. When you look around the world, you will find that 8 out of the top 10 companies today are tech and digital companies. Oil companies, which were the wealthiest, are losing their place at the highest echelon. The fastest growing jobs globally are those of artificial intelligence specialists, robotic engineers, and data scientists. We in India quite often get into sunset areas of industries, and then it becomes very difficult to penetrate global markets, and we become an importer of those items. We must use this crisis, as we have done, to become a leading exporter of PPE and ventilators, which we were not making. We should use this crisis to get into sunrise areas of growth and look at where the world will be growing and expanding in the coming years. Electric mobility, battery storage, 5G technologies, artificial intelligence, genomics, data storage, all these will be the emerging areas of growth in the coming years. These are areas where we must become global champions, and I'm sure emerging from a top-class academic institutions, all of you will be leading the initiative in this regard. Boys and girls, today's world of disruption and innovation, to my mind, requires firstly leaders who have strong belief and who are willing to set a completely new direction. Secondly, it requires leaders who are always optimists. We have too many pessimists, and therefore you must lead by optimism and have the courage to alter the status quo. Thirdly, leaders who look constantly at the future and set ambitious goals that are not determined by the past or present. And finally, I strongly believe we need leaders who keep sustainability at the forefront of every step that they take. Remember, we have a huge responsibility to the world that we live in, and therefore sustainability must be fundamental to every single step that you take. You are the ambassadors of the future. I have no doubt that all of you from Doon School will be leaders of tomorrow who will further transform the India of today. And while you are on your way to doing so, continue to trek, continue to scale mountains, continue to play a sport, continue to write, continue to do what you are most passionate about. Have at least one extracurricular pursuit which will be your lifelong, completely your lifelong companion. Remember that you owe a deep gratitude to your parents for sending you to this really outstanding and fine institution, and to your teachers for their enormous efforts in shaping your worldview and nurturing you into the leaders of the future. Boys and girls, when you graduate from here, you must pursue your dreams and make them come alive. Be optimistic, be positive, and continue to think big and large. As you embark on your journey to realize your dreams, you will have to overcome many, many obstacles. Your future will be full of hurdles, and this would require patience, perseverance, and fearlessness. That's an absolute must for those who dare to dream and succeed. Let me conclude by turning to a 14th century Indian poet. He was born a Muslim. He wrote in the Persian language, and his ancestry was Turkish. A Muslim in 14th century India, writing in Persian language, his ancestry being Turkish. But he counted himself to be the luckiest man alive to have been born in India. His name was Amir Khusro, and he wrote of India in the 14th century. And he said, how exhilarating is the atmosphere of India. There cannot be a better teacher than the way of life of its people. If any foreigner comes by, he will have to ask for nothing, because they treat him as their own, play an excellent host, win his heart, and show him how to smile like a flower. It was the spirit of India of 14th century which made Amir Khusro write this, and many centuries ago, of our great nation. It is the same feel, flavor, and innovative spirit of India that each one of you will be unleashing in the days to come. It will be this spirit which will make the Doon School as an institution and India as a country grow and progress. I wish you all the very best and a great future ahead. All success to all of you. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.